Hi, I'm Seamless, and I actually have forgotten what number 40K this is. That's the first time this happened. It's the 34th. Okay, cool. This one was requested by TheFeverAgenda, and it's a Koven sound. It isn't really just a Koven sound, though. It's kind of a sort of a general, this type of style sound. It was from the Koven track, Another Home, which is a pretty great track. I actually like Koven's stuff a lot. He's a pretty cool dude. And his sound design is also rather nice. I enjoy it. But this sort of like under bass is sort of present for not just his, but also stuff like Seven Lions. It's a very common deal. And I actually have a thing that I do for this specific purpose. I have a bass that I make that is just about this. And it sounds like this. That's the bass. And this is designed to go underneath big ass chords and huge wall of sound kind of thing. It's meant to go beneath and below things. It's not the main most visibly present thing. But this is kind of what's up. And this is a very specific harmor trick. And they probably, like everyone else, probably uses more regular like filter tricks or some kind of FM or massive wavetable modulation or whatever. But this is actually like the earliest harmor synthesis trick that I've ever done. This is after I discovered a bunch of, the resampling stuff. But I spent like a year doing resampling before I ever actually touched harmor synthesis. And this is the first thing I ever figured out how to do. And I'm actually going to do this from scratch because it's pretty easy. So I start off, I have a bass. I put on 9 voices in unison and I turn on the Hertz mode. I turn off panning and I turn the phase down to center, which does that weirdness. And if I move it off center just very slightly, that happens. And that's pretty great. So let's talk about why this happens. This patch will be available for download in the description. It's really not that complicated. You can just grab it and leave. I'm fine. I won't feel bad about that. So you can see in the spectrum of the EQ here, kind of what's going on with like the filtery movement in the spectrum and why is it happening? Well, it's happening because of phase cancellation. Phase cancellation happens when you have 2 very close tones in pitch together. And by very close, I mean anything that's not a multiple of the fundamental tone. Fundamental tone being the lowest note in the stack. And not a multiple, I mean like not double, half, that kind of thing. It doesn't fit inside the waveform perfectly. And when it doesn't, you get phase cancellation, where eventually the different pitches will get out of phase, and then positive will become over negative, and then that will cancel out and not make sound anymore. And what's happening is that with 9 voices in unison in the Hertz mode, especially, and I'll explain what Hertz mode does in a second, it causes a very erratic phase cancellation. And that's what gets us the crazy spectral movement that we have here now. And then, distort it, because you can. Experiment with different distortion ideas and stuff. So what does a Hertz mode do? Well, unison in harmor, you kind of got to think about this not in terms of individual voices, like saying 9 voices, but rather 9 sets of 512 voices. So a total of like 4,464 or something. It's some huge number. And the reason why it's important to think about it like this is because the Hertz mode is not the same as what's supposed to happen in a regular sort of unison. And we can explain this by looking at the spectral EQ of regular audio. You can see at the low end, we have 50 hertz and 100 hertz. And this space that represents 50 hertz, if you go up higher, can actually represent 5,000 hertz, 5,000 to 10,000. So this means that a note, if you make it a note, like say 44 hertz, an octave higher is double that, so then 88 hertz. And then an octave higher is double that, so 176 hertz. That is, that's just how that works. So if you want to make a sound that has a whole bunch of harmonics, right? The lowest note is something at like, if it's a bass, then something at like, 40 hertz or whatever. And the highest note is at like, 10,000 hertz. And that means that if I want to make a note, if I want to move it around, I want to spread the pitch evenly in the terms of a note value. is going to be different Hertz values. It's going to say, like, if I want to split a pitch so that one is actually like 2 or 3 hertz higher at the bottom, for that to sound like it's the same voices moving together, it's actually going to be like 200 or 300 hertz way up top. Hertz mode, however, doesn't do that. It actually says if I'm moving the note value 1 or 2 hertz at the bottom, it's moving 1 or 2 hertz on the entire spectrum. And that sounds very weird. And that's why the Hertz mode sounds the way it does and very different from everything else. And then because it's so different, the phase cancellation acts in such a specific way, I'm able to do what I'm doing with the sound, which gets us this sort of weirdly modular talky thing going on. And that was a very needlessly complicated explanation about what's happening. Really, you didn't need to know that. There's just a lot of like nerdy stuff. Like I said before, this patch will be available for download in the description of this video, along with the link to the original, so you can kind of see what I was talking about. And also the link to the Reddit thread where you can make a request if you'd like to make a request. If you'd like to make a request on the Reddit thread and don't make a request anywhere else. I'm not going to look at your request if you don't make it anywhere that's not in the Reddit thread. The point of the Reddit thread is that you're all doing it in one place. If you have any questions about any of this, let me know. And as usual, have a nice day.